Everybody, welcome to Geeksvana Live. Thank you very much for joining us. I really do appreciate it. Very quickly, thank you to Pete Taz Flies for becoming a channel member this evening. If you want to do the same, there is a link in the description to become a member. All sorts of tiers, all sorts of benefits. You can join from £1 or $1 a month type thing. But thank you, Pete. Good to have you here. Remember to check out the members playlist on the homepage of the channel for some of the uploads that are available to you now. Right, tonight we're going to be talking. We're going to be discussing flying your drone in and around sites of special scientific interest, or SSSIs. This is a topic that I've actually intended on covering on the channel pretty soon, but I've decided to move it up the priority order. That's because Altitude Angel, following a lot of hard work, have actually added SSSI information to the ground hazard section of the Drone Assist app, and of course therefore their mapping. Now this has actually led to a lot of viewers reaching out and commenting on the huge areas that are covered by SSSIs and pondering what it means for their drone flight. Are they now, does this mean they're flying illegally? What is the information around it basically? Now, this is a topic of sometimes extreme points of view. You're just as likely to find information telling you never to fly your drone near a SSSI as you are to find statements that there are no flight restrictions to stop you. The main reason for this type of confusion, in my opinion, is the same reason you often find lurking behind similar topics like this. There is actually no definitive overarching answer. Instead, you're going to need to develop a little researching and make active judgment calls both before and actually during your drone flight. After the show tonight, I do hope, it is the hope that you will have a greater understanding of SSSIs and how to plan your drone flight accordingly and safely, etc., and that type of thing. After the show, there will also be a few links in the description for anything that we show you and explain during the show as well. Now, before we start and before I bring in Graham, our co-host this evening, there is one important message to make absolutely clear when we're talking about this subject. So please bear this in mind throughout the show, basically. Sites of specific scientific interest are a highly valuable asset which do require protecting. Nobody is suggesting anything different, and if your drone in any way threatens or disturbs wildlife, potentially causing devastating impacts, then you deserve every legal book to be thrown at you at a great pace, frankly. There's absolutely no debate about the need for SSSIs or their value here. Frankly, I just wanted to make that very, very clear that we're not trying to, that this is not a how to get round things type of show or anything of that type, but it is going to help you make those decisions and be able to understand what's actually happening, basically. So first of all, we're bringing Graham. Graham, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Hello, everybody.
I've been looking forward to this topic. As I say, it's one that it has been brewing in the background for a little bit of time, and it was actually originally going to be a recorded video, but because of the wonderful people over at Altitude Angel updating the app and their maps and bringing all this extra information online very suddenly as well, which is awesome, basically means that we've actually we can now talk about it because it's one of those topics that everybody else is talking about as well, which I think is great.
Absolutely, and actually going back to the Altitude Angel thing, it shows that as you were sort of saying the couple of weeks ago when they relaunched, it shows that they really are investing in the platform and continuing to update it.
Exactly. Yeah. No, indeed. Which is a really good point. It does show that they are very much committed to updating and bringing some quite, that isn't a small thing to implement in mapping software that's as precise as the Altitude Angel mapping is. So let's have a look at the drone safety map website, which is dronesafetymap.com, and this is actually the same map that you will find within the Drone Assist app, and we've got the live version here so we can move it around, etc. And so nothing seems to really have changed. You can still see all of the usual bits and pieces. Now the SSSIs are not airspace issues, they're not airspace restrictions, they are ground hazards, so you do need to zoom in a bit more. Normally when you start to get things like the power stations and that type of thing, etc., start to pop up. That's very much what you have here. Now, again, you can see here the little orange or little yellow, depending on, I suppose, is it yellow or is it brown? I suppose it becomes brown when you click on it a little bit, actually. So it is a yellow area of information, essentially. And the idea behind this is to inform you that you're within that area and within that zone. As it states here, the SSSI dengue, the yellow zone indicates regions where operation of your drone may raise security, privacy, or safety concerns, which is very much the standard summary type thing for that Altitude Angel drop in there to say, hey, something is happening in this area. So here's a very standard generic summary for you. So the remarks say a site of special scientific interest is the land notified as a SSSI under the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981 as amended. SSSIs are the finest sites for wildlife and natural features in England, supporting many characteristic, rare and endangered species, habitats and natural features. It contains Natural England information licensed under the Open Government License version 3.0. So basically very, very simple, very, very basic information. The issue here, of course, is they can't really put anything on the app that's too specific. They can't, put every single SSSI and bylaw details and habitats, because of course that's actually quite a complex thing.
Some of them have a lot of information and a lot of detail on species and rock formations, geology, whatever, plants, the lot. So yeah, it would be information overload.
Exactly. So there is, for once, I'm not that sort of upset with them for the fact that they don't have too much information on there. Other ones I'm still just as upset, but on this one I'm okay with. Now, so what happens if you are in this area and you want to fly your drone? Obviously it says SSSI dengue, it's a nature reserve, it states, and can I fly my drone over here and that type of thing? Well, there is actually a very, very simple way of finding out exactly what is going on here. If you go across to the designated sites search tool over at Natural England, you can actually bring up this page here and search for any SSSI. Now, the wonderful side of things that this actually brings up is that basically you are able to look for the specific site. You can actually also do, there are map views and map searches as well, so you can look in a general area as well. But let's have a look here and let's actually put in, what was that one called? Dengue. So let's pop in there dengue and then click on the search button, and it pops up all of the details here. And at the bottom here, I can see dengue, SSSI designation, has the map, and it has view details here on the right-hand side. So clicking on the view details, it brings up lots and lots of information, basically. It has explanations, so they also very kindly, which I think actually a lot of these types of websites don't do, they do have explanations. So they explain what a citation and an ORNEC and a VAM is, etc. And obviously the citation is basically the reason for designating the area as a SSSI. It also gives you the staff members responsible. It tells you who actually looks after the area and that type of thing as well, which I think is very, very useful. But you can click on the view citation button, which I've just done for this one, and it will then bring up the information for you, which again I think is a really useful tool basically to have at our fingertips. And this one actually does tell you lots and lots of information, but it very quickly becomes apparent that there are birds nesting in this area, which therefore it becomes one of the ones that I would certainly personally be very, very careful of, especially at this time of year, because we are in the nesting period, but more on that later. And as it says here, a gull roost of up to 30,000 off sales point provides additional interest, as does a flock of 2,000. Is that twite or tweet? Twite, who winter. I'm not a bird expert. That's great.
I think you know my history.
Yes, indeed. So they winter on the salt marshes and beaches with small numbers of shorelarks and snow buntings. So it gives you a lot of information very, very quickly. So that's really within going from the Drone Assist app or the website across to one quick website and then across to a PDF. Very quickly, I would argue, I've been able to find out exactly what that SSSI is and what the situation is there. So if anything, I would argue that the addition of this information on the drone safety map is actually a very useful thing, don't you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. And what it tells you, as you say, it tells you what's being protected, and that gives you a really good idea of whether or not you're likely to be causing
Yes.
flying legally, because some of these things are geology. It
Yeah.
can be a rock formation. Your drone is not going to disturb a rock formation,
That's it.
even in the nesting season, but it could be a rock formation that shelters a specific species of bird, and you may disturb that bird. But then again, outside the nesting season, that bird may be in North Africa, and you don't need to worry about it. So,
Yes.
as I mentioned to Sean just before the show, as a teenager, I was a young ornithologist in the Young Ornithologist Club. I wear my badge proudly, and so I do know that a twite is a bird and it shouldn't be a twit.
Excellent. That's superb. So you obviously need to do all of the usual checks. You need to check out and carry out your normal checks for bylaws and that type of thing. And but again, it is pretty simple using these sites, which will be linked in the description after the show if you're watching the replay, to be able to find out exactly what's going on there. Now, it isn't really where you're going to come up a cropper, as it were, isn't really necessarily, it can be, but it's not necessarily drone specific regulations, drone specific legislation. And we could spend hours debating whether or not Article 241 would come into it, and whether or not any kind of drone related legislation would be used to prosecute someone in this situation. But
they get you on Wildlife and Countryside Act.
Yeah, because they just don't need to, frankly, because the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981 is very specific in its protection of SSSI areas, and if you are disturbing wildlife, if you are causing a nuisance, you will get that hand on the shoulder, and you will get into significant trouble, frankly. So that's one easy way to find out about them, and I think though that it's actually quite a useful, simple tool. One of the issues always was, where are the SSSIs, that type of thing, and which ones are which, and which ones have which designation. Well, within two links, so within your drone assist app, and then taking that name across and searching it on the Natural England search tool, you're able to find out very, very quickly what's actually going on there, which I think personally is absolutely fantastic.
It is.
So
it is. I know Simon Stickland, who sort of joined as a member yesterday. I think it was,
yes.
Good man. Is a huge fan of magic maps, which is something else you look up. Just do a search on magic maps, and it's a DEFRA site, and that will give you a map that you can search. And it's pretty much like searching the drone assist app for airspace.
Yeah.
It can be very deep. It can go down to the actual species of animal, and it's quite more complex to use than just doing that lookup on the name and find that will then tell you exactly what's of interest in that particular area.
Exactly. Now, one area around SSSIs which I always find interesting, and it is another area of sort of muddy water that I'm hoping that we're going to provide some assistance on this evening, is actually what to do, what to look out for should you be flying in an area which is a SSSI. I even feel like my door's going to get kicked down when I'm saying that out loud about flying in a SSSI. It's one of those topics, because of course none of us want to do any damage. None of us want to cause genuinely. None of us want to cause a problem. But it's very hard sometimes to actually get information and what we need to be on the lookout for when we're flying our drone. How do we know if we're too close or causing even mild interest, let alone disturbance in terms of the wildlife? Now, there's actually a really, really great leaflet which has been issued by Pembrokeshire National Park on this topic. And there are some parts of it. We won't go across the sections where they're talking about the drone laws and things, because there are some parts in there that I think are a little bit generic, and we could, again, a bit like the police leaflet, we could dial down and say, oh, it doesn't cover this, and it does cover that, and they have at least taken a very good stab at it, as it were. But what it does give is actually some really good information on protecting wildlife and wildlife disturbance, and I think it's actually one of the few times that I've seen some really simple information on actually what you need to be doing in terms of as in terms of your active decision making when you're actually flying the drone. We don't often see that, do we? Because normally with SSSI managers, it's no, stay away, the end. You know,
and this is fantastic, isn't it? Because it shows that there is some nuance there,
yes,
and that they understand that a drone can be flown, and if you
will be flown as well. Frankly, you know,
the key point is not to disturb. Don't disturb the wildlife.
Exactly.
Now, we may put the drone up, and a red kite may come and have a look at it. If you start hounding the red kite, you are disturbing the wildlife. The red kite comes and starts dive bombing your drone, you have probably disturbed it, you have upset it, and he's trying to get rid of you. So I sort of think take the hint and go away.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, let's
common sense.
Yeah, exactly. Common sense and active judgment making as well. Sort of, you know, it isn't just, okay, I've looked up the SSSI, I'm fine, you know, let's crack on. You know, it is. Yeah. So let's have a look at some of the advice. And again, this is from the Pembrokeshire National Park. I want to give them as much props and as much praise as I can for actually engaging with the topic, even from the fact that they've actually, you know, they've even got a little cartoon at the bottom showing the wildlife looking up in the air in a concerned manner. So, you know, they really have taken this quite, you know, someone spent a lot of time on this. Basically, they realize it's going to happen no matter what they try to do, and perhaps they've actually tried to deal with the issue. So, you know, hats off, frankly. So protecting wildlife is the first section. Nesting birds, marine mammals such as seals, wading birds and waterfowl are all very sensitive to disturbance. Wildlife is especially sensitive during the breeding season and also when feeding, roosting or resting, which all makes complete sense. Disturbance, and remember, this is just disturbance of wildlife, is a crime and can be prosecuted under the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981. Birds are particularly sensitive during the nesting season, 1st of March to 31st of July. So we are smack bang in the hot zone for SSSIs at the moment, in particular on cliffs where seabirds come ashore to nest. Seals are vulnerable all year round. They haul out to pup on the coastline, usually from August to the end of November. And again, they molt from December to April. Wading birds and waterfowl. I'll just move this up a little bit here so we can also see the cartoon bit as well, which is the extra benefit of me moving it up. Wading birds and waterfowl may gather in number to feed and rest on sand flats or mud flats and are vulnerable again at any time. If you notice any change in an animal's behaviour, you are too close and you should immediately back away. So any change, if there is anything that has changed within those animals, I mean, to me personally, and this is just me personally speaking, everybody has to take their own judgment call. If there's any reaction whatsoever, I don't want my drone actually close enough to have a reaction. So actually, personally speaking, I think that if you notice a change in the animals, you're already, you know, get away, basically. Frankly, it's my personal opinion on that. But again, we all have to find our own limits. Wildlife disturbance.
Or if it's a seagull, throw it some chips.
What was that?
If it's a seagull, throw it some chips.
Yeah, I'm not sure many seagulls are protected under SSSIs, but yes, they certainly do like their chips, don't they? Is this also, by the way, is this also just about the when you decided to come on Geeksvana and become an editor on the channel? Did you think we would be talking about the mating habits of birds and the pupping habits of seals?
Drone. You're not called Drone. You're called Sean. Sean. No matter what channel I was on, no matter what the subject, I'd have ended up talking about the mating habits of birds.
Superb. So wildlife disturbance, this next part here. Wildlife may think your drone is a predator, which makes complete sense to me. Often, the first sign of disturbance is wildlife becoming aware of your drone. Signs to look for are seabirds craning their necks, alarm calls, and seals looking up to watch your drone. These are signs that you are too close. Move your drone away and do not fly any closer. Remember, time spent watching your drone prevents animals from feeding and resting and caring for their young, which can impact on their survival, which is the reason why we have all these protections in place. They're not there just because, you know, we want them to have we want them to have quiet enjoyment of their back gardens or something. You know, this is serious stuff, basically. In cases where disturbance is severe, wildlife may take flight or move off in panic from cliffs or feeding areas. On crowded seabird ledges in particular, this can lead to the loss of eggs. If seals feel threatened, they may clear the beach and head for the safety of the water. This can actually affect the survival chances of young seals before they've developed their waterproof pelt, or even during molting. I didn't know that that was an issue with seal pups. Actually, it's very interesting. Even low levels of disturbance can impact on wildlife and lead to declining breeding success and reductions in population. And, you know, if there's anything else that you need possibly to make you think about this, look at that poor little seal's face. Trying to chill out on the beach, the one in the background there. You know, this one's trying to have a swim, and there's a pesky drone above. And it's I think it's really clever artwork, actually.
Those birds have got enough to worry about with avian flu at the moment.
They have exactly. I mean, you know, are any of those birds on the rocks there actually secret government drones? I don't know, but that's a whole other channel, frankly, isn't it? Really, but so again, some really good, some really clear advice there. And what I again congratulate the partners who actually made that leaflet on wholeheartedly and sincerely is the fact that they've actually looked to address the issue. They've created an entire leaflet for recreational drone users in Pembrokeshire. I think fantastic.
I think it's great that they've targeted both aspects. They've targeted the drone safety aspects as well as the nature thing, so that you've got it all in one place.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, they're providing some unique information, which I think is absolutely fantastic. You know, it is something which they can, which is adding value to the conversation. It's not just a drone policy of stay away, you know, or you know, a pure regurgitation of the CAA rules or anything else like that. It is actually adding some value to it, so it's making you think. And if you read that and you don't sort of, you know, think about that, then actually I think you're an arsehole, frankly, if you decide to fly ignoring those kind of guidelines, frankly, saying, oh, there's no airspace restriction, I'm going to crack on, you know, then sorry. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And you know, I would probably think to myself, do you know what, I'll go down to Pembrokeshire for a holiday and fly my drone down there and feel more doing it, you know.
It would certainly make me more likely to visit that area, I have to say. Yeah, indeed. Now, drones, obviously, from the point of view, one of the things I hear with SSSIs is, you know, and it's quite right that, you know, it's picking on drones again. You know, it's just as difficult in terms of drones, of people on their bikes, people walking across there with their dog, that type of thing that could potentially cause issues. Now, which I completely see that point of view. However, drones do offer a unique perspective on the issue from the point of view that, of course, your drone is going to be flying out further into the SSSIs than you would normally walk, hopefully, unless you're going to go for a swim. And therefore, obviously, it's going to be in and around areas where perhaps people won't be, basically. So it is a unique thing. And you know, that whole part of it where they say that wildlife may think your drone is a predator, I think that is the way to look at it, is try to ensure that your drone is not seen as so I would add to their recommendations in terms of trying to ensure that you don't fly too low. Always keep a very, very good height. You know, imagine all of those little birds and everything else like that are tiny little Karens, and you know, you can't set off the Karen alarms, basically. So keep that drone nice and high. A Mini 3 at a decent height, you know, they're not going to see it, they're not going to hear it. It isn't going to bother them, frankly. But as this leaflet says, if you see any change whatsoever, you're too close, which I think is a really good way of doing it. Because again, we were asked in one of the Q&As recently, how close is too close to things like animals, etc. Well, I think from a SSSI point of view, from the Wildlife Act point of view, that's a really good guideline. There is no set period, distance, frankly. There is no set separation. So you can see that flying in a SSSI area is not a black and white decision. It's an active and it depends on the time of year, what the SSSI is protecting, and what happens during your flight. I would say if you've got any doubt over any of that, consider not flying, basically, unless there's a specific reason. But do try to ensure that you do the research, because I think the research is so simple. It's such a simple thing. All you have to do to make this happen is go onto your drone. I'll do it again. I'll do this again. Let's choose. Is this going to be Denby as well next to it? It probably is.
It's the same one. Yeah.
But okay, is it just an extra tile of it? Okay, please hold while I find another one.
Find another. There must be plenty around.
There's got to be plenty around here, isn't there? Let me zoom right in. Here we go. Is that triple SI? Triple SI Hamford Water. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the search. Hamford Water. Here we go. Hamford Water. Let's hope I've spelled it correctly. There we go. Hamford Water, triple SI across the bottom there. View the map, view the details. We don't need the map because we've already got that with the drone assist. And here we do. And again, here is all the information, even down to the staff member responsible. Your grid references, absolutely everything is down there. And again, we can click on view citation and then go into that citation. And again, we can find out very, very quickly that it's a tidal inlet whose mouth is about 3 miles of Harwich. It's a large, shallow estuarine basin comprising tidal creeks, mudflats, sandflats, etc. Has a number of islands. I mean, I think I can feel the way that this is going already.
Cheeky little turns.
Yes, indeed. But again, you can see straight away and very, very quickly from reading this exactly what they're looking to protect. And I quite like that. I quite like the fact that with the Triple SI and the Wildlife Act, the actually, you know, the citation side of things that they've put in place is actually very simple. It's actually very good. You know, is there a triple SI? If there's a triple SI, there will be a citation document to tell you why there is, which I think is good, isn't it? Really? Yeah.
And I would say concentrate on birds and mammals. I would have thought.
100% agree with that. Yeah, no, 110% agree with that. So,
rocks, so much.
Sorry.
Rocks, not so much.
Yeah, rocks. You probably don't have to worry too much about rocks. But really, you know, again, that's another one that I've checked. I've never flown my drone in that particular area, but I was able to check within seconds what's actually going on there, which I think is, you know, to me, it's another value add that the Drone Assist app, the new Drone Assist style app, is actually adding to things on top of, you know, what we were already doing basically, which I think is wonderful.
It's somewhere we're going anyway to look, isn't it? So it's an immediate prompt there to go and look, because it's easy to forget these things in the rush of, you know, I want to go and fly my drones.
Yeah, exactly. So looking at the chat very quickly at what people are saying in there. Tim Long, hi Tim, good to see you. I think it's fair enough to have restrictions at triple SIs, provided they are the minimum necessary and allow scope for pilot discretion. The guidance you read out seems very reasonable. Exactly. And I think it starts to make it feel like we're not being picked on as drone users. Actually, we're part of that community. That leaflet kind of made me feel like a little bit more accepted into the world as a drone pilot, and say, you know, yes, there's a responsible way to fly your drone if you are going to fly it within beauty spots like triple SIs, because of course, by the very nature of a triple SI, it's where you want to fly your drone, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things. I live across the road from a triple SI. We've got a big area of common land, about 550 acres of common land across the road, and part of that has skylarks nesting in it. It's a big flat area, lovely skylarks, absolutely gorgeous in the morning hearing them sing. And over the summer, when they're nesting, you are not allowed to take your dog off a lead across that bit. Any other time of the year when they're not nesting, nobody minds. But when they're nesting, if you're a dog owner, you have to have your dog on a lead. And you know, that's a rule that impacts people walking their dogs.
Yeah, no,
Never
exactly.
mind, do it, because those skylarks are gorgeous.
Okay, this comment here. Hi Welsh. I hope you're well. Yellow zones over. I'm literally going to butcher this, but Merthyr Mawr dunes and beach are also over Ogmore by Sea in South Wales. A little angry face there, and yeah, I mean, pulling it up here, I can see that. I can see it's SSI Merthyr Mawr. There's me murdering that again. I'm gonna copy him thingy.
You're going to copy and paste that one, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I'm also running a live show, you know, but hey, and then click on search and let's have a look at it. Out of interest, sites found? No, doesn't want us to find a site. Is it actually case sensitive?
We've broken it. Oh, could be.
Is it case sensitive? Ooh. Merthyr Moor. Okay, search. No. Okay, it's not coming up for some reason. Perhaps I've actually broken the website. Let me actually go. Let me just read. Let me bring this off here so that I can get this working again. Let me actually see if dengue comes up again. Yeah, the site doesn't seem to be responding to me actually. So because I've just tried dengue and that's not working. But yes, it does show there. And again, if you go through the steps, then perhaps there's a number of ones you can check within an hour or something. You can find it out. But you know, this isn't something new. This isn't something which has suddenly appeared. So because it's now on the Drone Assist app, it's a new thing. The responsibility was still there, whether or not we knew the SSSIs existed or not, basically. So you know, the legality of it, the issue there was already there, frankly. So so yes.
And you can fly them. I have flown in them. I've been invited to fly in them. There's another local one to me, Noah Wood, with an education centre. They were getting the education centre rebuilt and they wanted some images of it. So I went up there actually over 4 seasons and got it summer, winter, autumn, the other one spring.
Nice.
And you know, did a nice big 360 image of them showing all the seasons. So you know, there's nothing wrong with flying there.
No.
And you can do it in all seasons.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
There's no rare birds there. That's woodland and grassland.
Yeah,
So
indeed. And Simon High, one of our channel members, I'm now referring to Simon as a channel member. That's so flippant. I'm glad SSSIs are becoming better known in the drone world. I've been trying for years to educate about SSSI Schedule 1 bird protection under old legislation that still applies. Absolutely. And I think this is one of the good things about this type of thing being added to apps like that is that, of course, it's it covers and actually starts to spread the word amongst a much wider user base. You know, you don't actually have to go and actively hunt for these things. I've seen so many messages. I've had messages to me, so many messages across social media of people saying, "Oh, has anyone seen Drone Assist this morning? It's got SSSIs on there now, etc." Which I think is just superb. And I hope to see some more updates on that. John Burns is saying apparently Natural England say you cannot fly without their written permission. That's more in terms of that's absolutely correct. Always check the specific bylaw that's in place for that area and also what's under protection. But because some flights just won't be possible. But in terms of sort of, you know, takeoff and landing, then that's the same as really anywhere. So yes, if you wanted to take off from within one of their sites, from within a natural England site, then yes, you may very well. But not all SSSIs. SSSI land ownership isn't necessarily. SSSI doesn't automatically designate who owns the land, if that makes sense. It's something which is applied for and is designated. So, and as with Pembrokeshire National Park, the landowner isn't necessarily linked straight away back to that.
No, and similarly, I fly quite regularly at I'm going to whisper it, National Trust land.
Shocking.
But I do so full permission of the tenant of that land. So you know, sorry, National Trust.
Yeah,
I've been given permission.
No, indeed, exactly.
By my manager. So and funnily enough, that borders a whole bunch of sort of chalk land, grassland, whatever SSSIs. So I'm good to go.
Indeed. Lindsay Hayes, Geeksvana, thanks for covering this. You're welcome, Lindsay. Every year there's about 1 week when trees are in leaf and the falcons have left so I can fly. Yes. Good man. Yes, if you're in a particularly active area, I think it is definitely one that's interesting for sure.
Sorry, can I just jump in? You have to be a little bit careful because these regulations around disturbance of wildlife don't just apply in SSSIs. So there are many cathedrals, churches that have their resident peregrine falcon during the nesting season, and they will quite happily defend their area, and secondly, it is an offence to disturb them on their nests.
Yes.
Whether
I don't want to bring up audit channels, but I'm going to bring up an audit channel. But as I often say to people when they talk about why don't they stop audit channels with the drone regulations and blah blah blah, they don't need to tighten the drone regulations because actually there's lots of other laws. When we're out flying our drones, we're still liable to all the other regulations and laws out there. More often than not, actually, when someone's arrested out flying their drone, it's not actually to do with the drone flight. Quite often. So Pete, who's our new member this evening, thank you again, Pete. I've sussed the power source that keeps showing on my Drone Assist app by looking on the satellite solar panels. Oh wow. So that's one that keeps popping up on his Drone Assist. And information's power, really, and it's up to you how much you want to dial into that information and how much you want to do that, frankly. So and just have a very quick look, see if there's anything else that we need to bring up. Gosport Aerial, great information tonight. Flying in SSSIs is always tricky to find. It's great that Drone Assist have added. Yep, completely agree. Lindsay Hayes is saying the search engine is accent specific. More a bit like meower. Okay, thank you. Without the EE, I'm not even going to try that again. Actually, I'm gonna leave it there, frankly. So, so yes. So and actually, Jeremy there saying that he flew from, which is obviously the key part there, and over a SSSI last week. Approval from National England was quick. In this case, the species were butterflies and spiders. Drones not an issue. Excellent. And that's what you get from Natural England, isn't it? That's the vibe you get just from the way that the SSSI sites are organized. They want you to access the information. They want you to know what's going on. They want you to make informed decisions. And it doesn't surprise me that it's a quick and easy thing to get an approval from them as well.
And difficult for them to claim that an SSSI is, I must start saying SSSI, that a SSSI is anything other than what it is, because you've got that citation. So that they can't say, oh no, you'll disturb the birds, if it is for spiders and insects.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Got the power.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Excellent. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I really do appreciate it. There is a lot more coming up this week, in fact, from Geeksvana. I'm probably going to be live again tomorrow evening talking about a very sensitive subject. But we probably have video releases, live streams coming every day this week. It might even be doubling up because I've got a lot of stories to get through this week. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Graham. I appreciate you coming in and sharing.
Thanks, everybody.
Sharing your huge expertise with the audience and myself. It's always great. I'm always very grateful for you joining us.
No problem. Thank you.
That was a much longer thank you than you were expecting, wasn't it?
It was, wasn't it?
Excellent. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate everybody tuning in again, and I'll see you again probably tomorrow on Geeksvana Live. Bye-bye.